Ever since we first looked up at the stars, we've had this one big question nagging at us. Are we alone? Well, today we're going to do more than just ask. We're going to dive into 10 of the most unsettling signs that suggest the answer might be we've already had visitors. Look, the stories are everywhere, right? They're in ancient myths, they're in modern military reports, but what if? What if some of them are more than just stories? Let's try to cut through all the noise and really look at the clues, starting with some of the biggest mysteries from way back in our past. So our countdown is going to start with events and, well, artifacts that just don't seem to fit into the history books as we know them. Kicking things off at number 10, we've got mysterious disappearances. And I'm not talking about losing your car keys. I mean entire ships, planes, and their crews just vanishing, gone without a single trace. I mean, just take the infamous case of Flight 19. This wasn't some lone pilot. We're talking about 5 experienced Navy bombers on a totally routine training mission over the Bermuda Triangle. Their last radio calls were just bizarre. They talked about their compasses going haywire and being completely lost. And then, just silence. And get this, a rescue plane they sent to find them, it vanished too. So in just one afternoon, 6 aircraft and 27 men were just gone. The official Navy report? Basically, cause unknown. All right, at number 9, we're shifting gears, removing from things that disappeared from the sky to clues that have been hidden in plain sight this whole time inside our most ancient texts. So what if our oldest holy books aren't just about gods and miracles, but about technology? That's exactly what researcher Eric von Daniken proposed. He pointed to things like Ezekiel's vision in the Bible, describing this complex winged machine with wheels within wheels. Or you look at the Hindu epic, the Mahabharata, and it talks about flying chariots called Vimanas. So the question is, were these just creative metaphors? Or were our ancestors trying their absolute best to describe incredible flying machines they just had no words for? Coming in at number 7, we've got a different kind of ancient mystery. We're not talking about texts this time, but real physical objects. Artifacts that are so technologically advanced, they almost feel like they've come from the future, not from the deep past. And the Antikythera mechanism is the perfect example. Divers pulled this corroded lump of bronze from a 2,000-year-old shipwreck, but inside was an absolutely mind-blowing secret. A system of gears so complex, it was basically an ancient analog computer. To give you some perspective, technology this precise wouldn't be invented again by humans for another 1,500 years. It just makes you wonder, who on Earth built this thing, and where did they get that kind of knowledge? Okay, let's jump forward in time. We're moving on from ancient artifacts to much more modern mysteries, ones that are hidden right here on our own planet. All right, at number 8, we have a name that I'm sure you know, a name that's become practically synonymous with secrets and aliens, the most famous military base in the world, Area 51. For decades, the official story from the government was that Area 51 didn't even exist. It was just a blank spot on the map. Then, finally, in 2013, the CIA admitted, okay, yeah, it's real. It's a test site for spy planes. But that official story has never been enough to quiet down all the rumors. The persistent claims from people who say they were insiders, who swear that the real work at Area 51 involves taking apart and reverse engineering captured alien tech. Next up at number 6, we have a phenomenon that doesn't play out in secret bases, but right out in the open, in farm fields of all places. I'm talking about the beautiful and totally baffling mystery of crop circles. And look, let's be honest, we know that a lot of crop circles are hoaxes. A couple of guys even came forward and said they started the whole thing with just some wooden planks and rope. But that only accounts for about 80% of them. So what about that other 20%? The ones where the plant stalks are bent at perfect right angles without actually breaking? The ones with strange energy readings inside the circle and geometric patterns so complex they seem to be based on really advanced math. That's where the real mystery begins. Okay, we are now entering the most intense part of our countdown. This is where the stories stop being about weird objects in the distance and start being about direct, personal contact. So at number 5, we have to tackle the most terrifying, the most personal claim in all of UFO lore, the alien abduction. Now, the Travis Walton case is one that really stands out, and here's why. It wasn't just his story. His entire logging crew, a bunch of tough, no-nonsense guys, they all watched it happen. They saw a hovering craft shoot a beam of light that hit him, and then he was just gone. Every single one of them passed a lie detector test. When Walton showed up again 5 days later, he told this horrifying story of being experimented on by strange creatures. And for almost 50 years now, nobody has been able to debunk the testimony of those witnesses. And number 4, we're going to zoom out a bit from individual stories to maybe the biggest conspiracy of them all. The idea that governments aren't just hiding some evidence, but that they are actively managing contact through secret top-level projects. I want you to just imagine a secret committee, okay? Something more powerful than the CIA, more powerful than the FBI, created by President Truman himself for one single purpose: to manage the alien problem. Well, that's the story behind Majestic 12. According to these documents that were allegedly leaked, their job was to study crashed UFOs, like the one at Roswell, and to keep the whole thing completely hidden from you and me. Now, the documents have never been officially proven real, but the idea of a secret group holding on to the biggest secret in human history, that's a theory that just refuses to go away. We're down to our final 3 points, and for these, we're moving from secrets kept here on the ground to evidence up in our skies, the kind of data and testimony that, well, could change everything. Coming in hot at number 3 is not a single event or a sighting, but an argument so powerful that it's really, really hard to ignore. The simple, undeniable logic of numbers. Just think about the sheer scale of the universe for a second. Our galaxy, the Milky Way, has hundreds of billions of stars. And now we know that most of those stars have planets. The latest estimates, they suggest there could be as many as 10 times billion Earth-like planets in our galaxy alone. And our galaxy is just one of hundreds of billions out there. With numbers that big, the odds that we are the only life in the entire cosmos are practically zero. The math itself says somebody else has to be out there. Which brings us to number 2, the testimony from the very few people we've actually sent out there to see for themselves, our astronauts. And look, these aren't just any witnesses. These are astronauts, arguably the most highly trained and credible observers on the planet. James McDivitt on Gemini 4 saw an unidentified object that was literally pacing his capsule in orbit. Buzz Aldrin, on his way to walk on the moon, reported seeing a strange light following Apollo 11. And the Russian cosmonaut Vladimir Kovalyonak was amazed that more of his colleagues didn't speak up, saying he saw multiple unexplained craft of all different shapes and sizes during his time in space. And that brings us to our number 1 sign of alien visitation. It's not just one case. It's not a theory, it's a persistent global phenomenon that governments are now officially admitting is real. Unidentified flying objects. You could say the modern UFO era was born at Roswell, New Mexico back in 1947. First, the Army puts out a press release saying they've recovered a flying disc. Incredible. Then, the very next day, they completely changed their story. Oh, never mind, it was just a weather balloon. Decades later, the story changes again. Now it was a top-secret spy balloon. It's these constantly shifting explanations that lit the fire of suspicion that's still burning today, making Roswell the absolute cornerstone of all government cover-up theories. And this isn't just some old story from the 40s. Today, we have incredibly credible witnesses, fighter pilots, radar operators, high-level intelligence officers who are finally coming forward. And they describe objects, just like the one in this quote, that perform maneuvers that are just flat out impossible for our technology. We're talking about instantaneous acceleration, no wings, no visible propulsion. This is really the heart of the mystery today. Highly trained observers witnessing technology that seems to break the laws of physics as we understand them. So, from ancient artifacts to modern military radar, the signs are all there. And while sure, many cases have perfectly normal explanations, there's this stubborn little percentage that remain truly, deeply unexplained. And it's in that unexplained space that the biggest question of all still lives. So after seeing all this, I'm going to leave that question with you. What do you believe is the truth?